All right, Kahlil, tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right, so from New York originally. I live in Georgia right now. I'm active duty military. I'm a health coach, and I have an athleisure brand that I do as well. So, like, what I'm wearing right now is Idon. That's my brand. Idon
Right?
means um, like an icon. So, well, I mean idea icon. That's what it is. It's an abbreviation for idea icon. Idea. I feel like everything in this world started as an idea, a
Yes.
thought, and that's how we make everything: electricity, cars.
Nice, man. That's why when I hit you guys up or looking for some people who talk about mental health and fitness and stuff, I'm glad you was one of the people that came aboard. Was like, yeah, let's talk
Yeah,
because
that's what I do on my podcast. Yeah, I have a health and my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's a health
wow,
and business podcast that I started to like help the military because like a lot of people in the military are unhealthy. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to attack their health nutritionally, physically, mentally. And then there's a lot of suicide because people don't understand themselves. They don't know what to do. They get depressed and they attach that feeling and thought to themselves instead of attacking the thoughts and being like, is this right? Is this true? Why do I feel this way? So that's kind of why I started my podcast, to attack those issues as well as teach people that even if you're in the military, you can start a business. Airbnb, stocks, a brand owner with clothes, do a podcast. So I've done all those things. So that's why I started the podcast, to be as transparent as possible.
I didn't never. When you say in the military, are you saying when you say unhealthy in the military? Are you saying that there are active people in the military that are unhealthy? Like,
Oh yeah, like they're overweight.
not like just like out the military. So you talk about like actively in the military.
Yes.
Really, I never really thought about that.
Like I feel like if they get too much stress, they're gonna have a heart attack.
Wow. Oh,
Like
so
that unhealthy.
wow. I never really. I mean, I have some friends that are in the military. They're no longer in, so I can see that unhealthy side. But I never really thought of it as in the military actively being unhealthy. I never pictured that. See, that's something that you brought to my attention. I never thought about that. Huh. So how do you go about those things?
One of my jobs in the military, so I'm a culinary specialist in the military,
Okay.
so I cook for a living
Nice.
in the military. And also I'm like a command fitness leader. So like I address those issues with weights. They might come to me for nutrition advice or like personal training. So like command fitness leader, kind of like a personal trainer in the military. You kind of lead group trainings. You might do individual. You're talking to them about their nutrition, and you kind of like let them do weekly weigh-ins or monthly weigh-ins, and you see if like how their body fat gone down, and if they're losing weight, getting healthy.
Okay.
So I kind of address all those issues as one of my jobs in the military.
All right. So are you like using techniques? Because the techniques I use for myself, because I was once at one point not too long ago, like about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, pushing 500 pounds at 6'4", and one of the things that I started doing was, other than just your average eating better and working out, was I was using techniques in regards to like blood type diets. I don't like the word diet because that's like making it seem like it's some type of structure that's only you have to eat like 100 calories a day. I hate that word. So, but for the sake of argument, for the sake of conversation, I utilize stuff like the blood type diet, which for me being O positive, pretty much meant what I read in the book that I read. I forgot the name of the book. I'll look it up later as we go further. But it was pretty much stating that I had to be more active, not necessarily at the gym or anything like that. Mostly just walking around, doing yard work, just being active from the moment I wake up to the time I lay down, because the old blood type positive people are considered hunter-gatherers. So our ancestors, our genetic ancestors, were pretty much active people. You know, they spent their days hunting animals or picking berries and things of that nature. And so I utilize that format. And our food types that we can eat, pretty much were strictly, so we can eat beans, rice, chicken, every food that any other human can eat, but certain foods like chicken, which I found weird, didn't really sit well for old positive people or old negative people as a whole, but lamb does. Lamb is truly beneficial. And I started thinking about that. Every time I ate chicken, I felt like my gut, I start getting those gut rumbles. But when I eat lamb, man, it's like I'm like truly happy eating lamb. I don't feel sick or anything. I find that weird. Do you use any type of techniques like that?
So to answer that question, I do not. I don't like to use that blood. I don't like to make it difficult for people. I try to make it as simple as possible, or people will stop listening and they feel like they don't have the capability to go further. I believe like meats, like if I eat meat, I might go for more grass-fed stuff. But it's kind of hard in this day of age. Everything is pumped with hormones, has pesticides, vegetables. So like you got to really be cognizant and be really vigilant about what you're putting into your body on that part. But I like to just tell people to you don't have to be in a gym, just do walking, exercise your breathing, walk, ride a bicycle, go play some sports with somebody. Like some people don't like to lift weights, they rather play basketball, which you're using a lot of your body, like all your joints, twisting and turning, jumping and getting down, using your legs, your hips. So like people can do that, they can go bike, they can go swim. So, cleaning, you're exerting energy. So like all these things will burn calories. So what I like to do, people, like especially if they're trying to lose weight, I like high intensity workeds.
Okay, like HIIT programs?
Yeah, so like for example, for my groups, I like to do 3 workouts. They may do it for 6 minutes. Then they take a 2-minute break and water break, and then they do another 3 workouts for 6 minutes. And it's kind of like round 1, round 2, and round 3. And then as far as nutrition, I keep it simple, like lean protein, maybe a starch and vegetables, but kind of cycle the starches, because our body, if anything we do every day, our body get used to it. Yes. And then if we're losing weight, it will stop. So not like, just like you said, hunter and gatherers, they didn't eat like meat all the time. Sometimes it just wasn't available. Mm-hmm. So like they were always healthy. They were able to do it. Unlike us, we're over consuming a lot of things. And then we're like, why aren't we losing weight? We're confused. And because this is the only time we had this abundance of food.
Yes.
Now we have no excuses.
Yeah, you got
people don't eat. Yeah, it's crazy. And if people don't eat, they're afraid like they're gonna die of starvation, which is not true. Like we can go, like there are people who are like practicing fasting a lot, like fast for 7 days and you're fine, but we're just afraid. But for my clients, I just tell them to keep it simple. Eat lean protein, like maybe chicken, beef, fish. I'm a pescatarian myself, so I just eat like fish and vegetables, maybe starch, but then I cycle it out depending on the type of energy I'm exerting throughout the day. Let's say I have a long day, a lot of activity, I might have a starch before that in my meal. If not, I'll just take it out. You don't essentially need it.
Right.
Like food is energy at the end of the day.
Yes.
We eat it for everything else. Emotions, how we feel, we're bored, we're with people, we're having a good time, not because we're doing an activity.
Abundance, like you said earlier, we have it everywhere. That's why I mentioned DoorDash, because this is like now we got it where we can get food delivered to us straight to the house without ever leaving the house. It's almost like we're one step closer to becoming the Matrix, you know, being in a tube and just having the food just shoved in our throats. So yeah, I feel you on that. I believe that I tried the fast. I tried the fasting, not like I tried it and like it wasn't for me, but meaning that I tried it early last year, as more of a spiritual type thing, because I wanted to see if I can do it. Like, oh, let me see if I can go 1 day without eating. 1 day hit. Oh, let me see if I can go 2 days. 2 days came, and by 3 days, I was like, oh man, I'm doing it. And the third day, around the fourth day, that's where I caved in. But yeah, it was definitely like I wasn't really necessarily hungry. I actually had more energy than anything, which was weird. I was like, I feel like happy because honestly, all you gotta do is drink more fluids. Because what people don't understand is sometimes your stomach it rumbles or like it feels like it's hungry. Sometimes you could just be thirsty. You're like, just have some water or some tea. So yeah, I definitely feel you on that one. We have too much abundance.
But you raise a good point. You do get energy when you fast. It's like, so I always tell a lot of doctors and what they say about fasting, like people with centers that they just help people fast. So they say if you fast for like 30 days, but you can't really do a lot of activity where you're exerting a lot of energy, because then like that's when it's a problem. Mm-hmm. But if you're just drinking water, you have more energy. It's kind of like, let's say you're working out. After your workout, your insulin levels go down and you get a lot more energy. Same thing applies to fasting. Your insulin levels go down and you get more energy. But a lot of people think if you don't eat, you'll die or you starve to death. Like that's why you see a lot of homeless people. They're not dying, like in Africa or somewhere. They're not dying as quick when they're not eating.
Oh yeah.
We're more prone to die from obesity than from under eating at this point.
We're dying because of the food that we're putting in our bodies that's not necessarily healthy. There's this species, this octopi, because I was researching immortality because I'm fascinated with the concept of immortality. Because as I get older, I'm actually like, man, is it possible not to die? It's not a fear of death. It's more like why? I've always been like, why do you have to die? That makes no sense to me. And like, so I came across these realm of species that are technically immortal, and one of them was an octopus. I forgot the name of it, but it's immortal in two ways. One way, as it gets old, it can reverse its age. So it gets to a certain age, and if it's like trapped in say you put the octopus inside of a glass and you just leave it there with no food or nothing, that octopus or insect, I forgot what it was, octopus will revert back. It will start necessarily consuming itself, in my opinion, and it would go back to its early stage, and then it will begin again. Like, I found that fascinating. And when you mention how the homeless people, they don't really eat that much and they're not really dying or nothing like that, I thought about the octopus. Like, the octopus was using its own energy. It's like a self-containing energy, and probably all it needed was some type of fluid of something just to keep its gears turning. I like seeing patterns like that in the world.
Yeah, but that's crazy. I never heard of that. But I feel like everything operates in a cycle. Like if we pass on, something else come about, and then we just appreciate it more in life. Like seasons, the 24-hour clocks, everything's a cycle. Years. That's funny. How the world operates.
That's funny because my last guest, who were in the same podcast group, Zenazi. I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry, miss, if I mispronounced your name. Zenazi. We was talking about seasons, and everything has its time and everything. So I find that fast. We just had this yesterday, and so the fact that you mentioned it today, like we was talking about universal laws. You know how everything is pretty much, if it's a universal law, that's the thing. So you mentioning everything has a season just brought back the thing that we was talking about yesterday, the law of rhythm. If something bad happens, doesn't mean necessarily that something good is not going to happen. So let me get your thoughts on strength train. You mentioned a little bit of it, but we'll touch on it further. Let me get your thoughts on strength training versus cardio. Like, where do you stand? Do you believe that you should have more strength training, or do you believe that you should have more cardio, or do you believe it's one and the same?
100% strength, because that has to do with your skeletal body muscle. And like as you get older, you're not gonna be able to lift as much. But if your skeletal body muscle getting stronger, then you can keep it going. Let's say me and you, we start at 20 years old. If I'm lifting for 20 years till I'm 40, and you stop at 30, you're not gonna be as strong as me. Your joints are gonna be weaker. Your everyday activity is gonna be harder. You're just not gonna be able to do everything as effective as I can. So that's my point on it. But cardio is great, but just lifting, strength training, you're burning fat automatically too. That's rating your metabolic rate. So when you're sleeping, you're going to be burning more calories. So I feel like that's the most important thing, because your skeletal body muscle.
I would agree. I would say that it's almost one and the same, because when I lift weights now, I have my heart rate monitor on, and I realize if I'm doing like high intensity strength training, I realize that my heart is, going faster, and then I'm breathing harder, and almost the same as running. And so when I do any type of cardio, like after, if I haven't done it in a while, but I've done a lot of strength training, if I do go to the cardio, I realize that my cardio sessions last longer, even though I didn't have that many cardio sessions. Like, for example, boxing. When I do my boxing sessions, I realize my boxing sessions go much longer after a week of straight strength training. So I think it's one and the same. But yeah, I do agree with you that strength training is way more important than cardio, especially like as you get older, you're lifting like a bag of groceries and all of a sudden your back goes, oh, what's up? Because you're not like using those muscles as much as you should. So yeah. What you mentioned, I looked at your YouTube channel. I didn't really get a chance to listen to it, because you had just popped on. I was getting ready to listen to it, but I saw one with the mental health. Now I'm not sure if this is something that you could talk about more, because some of your patients probably don't want to talk about. But what can you talk about that you can talk about that you discovered with your clients in the military, and how does fitness help them, or how does your training help them?
So pretty much I might talk to them about what they're eating, their personal fitness, and just their mental health. So I might talk about mindfulness, talk about their thoughts, and who they're hanging around with. Like just like in a gym, if you're hanging out with a bunch of people who are lifting light, you're gonna start doing the same thing. You're gonna change what you're doing to adjust to their weight. So I talk to them about their environment, what they're thinking, being mindful, talking about are they challenging every thought, because like I said earlier, you don't want to get stuck on a thought. Our brain can be tricky that way. You can be like, I hate myself. If you say it enough, you're gonna believe it. But if you don't challenge it and be like having another opposition, like saying, why do I hate myself? You're gonna just believe it, and then you're gonna sink down that hole, and it should be all negative. So I talk to them about being positive, even if you're going through a negative time. Like it might, the bad times don't last forever. So we talk about that, and we talk about how they can adjust with their environment, or if they have a significant other, what activities they can do, being more grateful, like every day waking up, saying what you're grateful for, so that could change your energy. So those are like the main things I do with them. And then like being in the gym is a stress reliever. Like doing cardio. That's why I like doing cardio. I can start running and I forget about everything, and I just feel better afterwards.
And so you That's the second time you mentioned something that we talked about yesterday, how to change your mindset and your energy. Like you pretty much have to control your own mind. You can't let the room dictate how you feel. I like that because that is pretty much the key component right there in mindfulness. Because if someone's bringing you down, they're gonna bring you down. And if you keep saying, "Oh man, I'm sad. Oh man, I'm sad," you're gonna become sad. Because what's that one that infamous quote? "I think, therefore I am." I always love that saying because, like, yeah, if you keep saying you're ugly, if you keep saying you're fat, if you keep saying all these negative thoughts, that's what you're going to become. It's not someone else's fault. I mean, sure that those outside voices are saying those things, but it's not their fault because they're not your reality. Each person, I believe, each person is their own reality. You're your reality. So everything that I'm saying, it's only words coming towards you, but you, at the end of the day, at the end of this session, you control your own reality, your mindfulness, as you stated. So yeah, I definitely agree. So that's good. That's just 2 times in a row you mentioned the things
it's important. It's very important.
So
it's very important. Like that was my interview earlier today. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
No, go on.
No, I was saying, yeah, it's important to just have control of your mind. Cause like if you let someone else control it, then you can't direct it. You have no direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's important. Like I heard somebody say to me, you had this 2 guys who work at the same place. One guy liked jazz, one guy liked rock. But the guy who liked rock, his car broke down and he needed to catch a ride with his neighbor who worked at the same place. So they went to the same, they carpooled to work. He listened to jazz every day, but he hates jazz. On the first day, he's like, "Oh, I can't tolerate this." On the second day, he started tapping his foot. On the third day, he started singing the lyrics. So like that's how strong environment is too. Like that's why you got to be careful.
Yeah. See, yeah, I try to instill in my nieces and nephew, like, look, just because you're in the environment that you're in doesn't mean you become the environment that you're in. You have to always strive not to be 100% influenced by the things that don't serve you. Like I always try to instill that in them, like whenever time I get with them, because what some people don't understand is that everybody, from the kids all the way up to the adults, we're being influenced by everything. Everything is influenced, even if, especially kids in general, even if you have 90% control over their schooling and their knowledge, what they're getting. Once they leave your presence and go to like the store or an amusement park or the park, they're influenced by something that they see. And so you have to like, yo, just because you saw that, don't do what that thing did. I mean, and me by saying that to them, that's me influencing them, so it's like everybody's influenced by something. And it goes back to what I said before. At the end of the day, you're responsible for your own reality. And it took me 38 years. I'm like 43 next month. It took me like 38 years to like formulate I should start doing a me thing rather than a everybody else thing. Because the everybody else thing is, it's cool, I'm helping them out, but I'm starting to suffer. So once I started getting that mind state in, I slowly started building myself up. Because when I was younger, I had a good childhood. My childhood is phenomenal. I'll say that to the end. I was raised in a really good home, so I never really had no bad vibes. But as I got older, as the influence started attacking me more and more, my mind started to like change and started like becoming a thing. And it's not a blame thing. I'm not blaming anything. It's just it is what it was. And now that I recognize that, okay, I just put all my energy into those things. I never truly put my energy into the thing that I really wanted to do, which is helping people or bringing voices such as yourself to help people. Like, oh, your voice can help people. The things that you're saying can help people. Yeah, you have your own brand, your own world. I want to bring your world over to my world, so the world that I'm in can help people that may not be able to get to your world because they may not see your world, especially in the world that we live today. Because you're all the way in what, Georgia, you said?
Yeah, I'm in Georgia.
Yeah, you're in Georgia, so I'm in California. You know, the people that I live around, they'll never know that you exist or have the mindset to get out their mental barrier, but they come see you like, oh, I never even thought about that the way that he thought about it. Let me follow him. And so that's what I love about this technology world that we live in now.
Yeah, it's all about connections.
It's all about connections. That's why I left the group that we're in, and I'm not going to mention it because I mentioned it to Zen, and I was like, you know, I love that group, I really do, but there's some bad seeds in there. But there's bad seeds everywhere, so I'm not gonna let them. The people that I met, such as yourself, I've actually done 3 from that group that I'm in, because I like to keep it like I'm very one-dimensional, I guess you could say, when it comes to how I want to get my things. So the people that I met there so far, I love them all. Like, oh, never with that person, never with you. So I don't know. I'm rambling. So, do you think fitness can beat, or is able to beat, or can halt off father time?
You said father time?
Yeah. You ever heard that saying, father time?
Oh, what do you mean? No, I'm not too familiar with it.
Father time is pretty much aging, pretty much.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. So do you think, because there's 80-year-olds, there's this one 80-year-old lady who is jacked, and I'm just looking at her like, I can't beat her. And I'm wondering, do you think as we get older in society, as our descendants become more and more physical and more fitness aware, more health conscious, do you think we'll eventually beat father time? Do you think we can beat it now?
I don't know about beat, but I know it will extend our life.
Okay.
Like, farther than we can expect. Like, for example, like if you take care of yourself, your skin is gonna be better. If you're eating the right foods, you can nourish your brain better brain health, your better body, and you feel better, you look better. Ultimately, you're gonna live longer. You're gonna have stronger bones, and you can withstand more. And people who don't eat well, who don't work out as often as others, their life is just not going to be as long as the other person. So in comparison, that's how I look at it. The person who doing all these right things, they're going to live longer. They're going to be able to give more value to the world. That's why I think fitness is important.
Okay. I just saw this cliff note that I saw on one of your podcasts, and it's from a podcast you did 4 weeks ago, and I really want to get your thoughts on it because I'm not too familiar with it. So explain to me. I'm guessing here. I'm guessing this was the topic. Explain to me what melanin is for the people who don't know.
Just like a pigment, like that black people have inside of them. Just truly black people. We're just outlining, and that podcast was just about trying to get more involved in black culture and uplifting black people, black stores, black businesses, and just like collaborating and connecting with more black people to uplift one another, because we don't do it enough.
We don't. We do not do it enough. I met a guy that's in my neck of the woods. Thank you for reminding me, because I'm gonna put him on next. And he owns a store that's, as he described it, he's trying to get people off hospital medicines by using natural stuff and things of that nature. His wife is a biochemist and everything of that nature. And we were talking about how our people don't pretty much network or trust each other enough to do the things that other cultures do. And I was like, you're right. And he said like, the thing about it is, he's like, we're there now, but it's going to be left up to the next generation to like keep it going, because right now we're almost there, but next generation, it should be more networking, if you will. I'm like, you're right, man, you're right. And I'm after this, I'm gonna hit you up with it, because maybe you can. He's out here in California, and I'm pretty sure if your clients are looking for some natural substance, if you will, not like weed or anything, but like natural herbs and stuff, I'm pretty sure you guys can network. They can ship them off to you. You're like, I got some product over here, I can give them to your customers and them. So I'll people, what I want to say to the world, if my boy Kahlil has left us, it's okay, because people need to understand that there's no badness in the world. There's no wrong in the world. Everything has its seasons. Everything, just because something bad goes wrong, just because it's not going right in your life, does not mean that it's going to last forever. So I'll leave you with this, fellow mutations. Remember, happiness is only one footstep away. And if you keep walking, you will achieve your happiness. You will achieve your goals. Until next time, I am David Mosley, and the mask has come off. Deuces.